essentially forces you to become your own best friend and your own partner, and you have to I have to create my own happiness. I can't rely on anybody else for it. And that's not just when you're traveling, it's in life anyways. But I've really learned how to do this to a new extent out here, of course. And it's been amazing. I've had just absolute transcendent love and joy, and just all of these feelings just being in my own presence. And I felt so much stillness over the last 5 days, being with some people before that, like being with friends. I had made friends before that, and I spent a week with people and partying and just like having a lot of fun, and it was great. And then I was like, okay, it's time for me to go be alone. And so I went to Sagada, which is now my favorite place in the Philippines, by far, my number one favorite place. And it's just like Canada. The way it feels here, it's cold, there's pine trees everywhere, and I've just been riding around on a motorbike for many days straight, just thinking and just being in complete silence, basically. And it's been amazing, like absolutely amazing. So I just like to go back and forth between the being with people, not being with people, and just going and doing whatever I feel like is right at the time. So this kind of leads into another part that's really, really impactful from solo traveling, is just the personal development. And the personal development, spiritual growth, self-reflection that I've been able to do through a lot of it through alone time, and also just through reflecting on all these different things that happen and how I'm responding to them and how people are responding to me, and just having all of these experiences showing me something about who I am and what I'm doing and what can I do better, and so many things. It's just so much input and so much that I'm learning about myself. And every single day I'm learning something about myself. It's really amazing when you're taken out of your routine and you're just put into a completely new context, a whole new place, and with all new experiences, and you don't actually know what's going to happen in the next moment. It's like, it's so transformational, and it's just really hard to even explain because it's going to be so different for everybody. But what I can probably guarantee you is that it would happen for you. It will happen for you, if you decide to do something like this in your own way, in its own way. It's going to be completely different from me. And luckily for me, I'm obsessed with personal development. I'm always obsessed with improving myself and all of these things. So it's really perfect that traveling is like the most, like they say that traveling is like, you learn more from 1 year of traveling than you do from your entire life in school. And it's true. It's because it teaches you all of the things that you probably should have been taught in school. That's my experience and what I've heard from a lot of people who have done this. I'd love to be more specific on what I mean by personal development and spiritual growth, but I feel like I'm like thinking about it right now, and I don't even know how I can even put it into a succinct small thing to say for something that's so huge. And so all I can really say is just take a look at all of the podcast episodes I've made, and you don't even have to like listen to all of them, but if you just scroll and look at the name, like the labels of the captions of each of them, the names of each episode, and that perfectly represents what has happened for me in my personal development and my spiritual growth over the last 10 months. Every single week, basically. For 9 or 10 months. And that's all about my personal development and spiritual growth. And it's documented there. So it's just that just shows you some of the, if you need some examples of what's possible when you're so open like this, and you're just taking a leap into the unknown. This is the kind of things that are going to show up for you, and they're going to be completely different, but they're going to be just as amazing, just as impactful, just because you're open for it, you're ready for it, and this is it. So I think that once you just make that decision to go and just go and travel the world or move to a new country, or just once you make that big decision, that's when everything comes to you. And so this leads into the next thing, which is all the opportunities. Like, it's insane how many opportunities just fall on my lap and just all the and just manifestations in general. Just, I swear, it just get more and more and more. It just gets more almost scary how powerful I've become with this manifestation thing. Like, I've always believed in it. I've always been kind of obsessed with it, but since I've been traveling, like, if I have a list, I need to make a new list that's updated around all the things that I have directly manifested. And now it's like when I speak about something, boom, it just shows up right in front of me, and people notice it. Like, people around me, they're like, what the, how the hell did you do that? I'm like, guys, I don't know. I'm magic out here. I don't understand. But I think that just goes along with the the personal development journey of it too. Like, I think that, and the spiritual growth of it, I think it's all linked. Like, it's the energy now, because now I'm expecting it. I'm expecting all of these things to happen. And I don't know exactly what I'm expecting. I'm just expecting amazing things to happen for me because that's just how it's been going. And when I think that, and I heard a quote once that you don't get what you deserve, you get what you expect. And that doesn't mean 100% of the time you're going to always get what you expect. Of course, things are going to happen that you did not expect. But when there's that generalized knowing that I'm expecting that everything's going to work out in my favor, well, that's what I'm going to see in my life every day. But if I'm always expecting everything not to work out in my favor, then that's what I'm going to be seeing more often, is all the things that are not working out in my favor. So I'm not going to let this go too far into a manifestation episode. I'm sure I could link that with any episode I talk about. But so, like some examples, opportunities that have come to me. The job that I'm now working as the tour guide. The motorbike that I traded I traded a few murals for a motorbike for 3 weeks. Things like this are just going to show up for you, especially because when you're also clear about what it is that you want, you're more likely to talk to more people about it. And that's why I talk to everybody, including you guys, about all of my dreams and desires and goals. Like, I don't hold anything back, because the more people I talk about this to, the more energy builds up around it, and that's always a good thing, because most of the people I talk to want the best for me. Like, I'm not talking to shitty people for most of my time, and for the off, couple percentage of people who don't want the best for me, I mean, that's definitely not going to outweigh all of the good. And the more I talk about it, the more chances are someone's going to have the answer to what I'm looking for. And they're going to say, hey, actually, I know this person, or I have this motorbike and I actually need murals, blah, blah, blah. Like, that kind of thing. And so I think that this just, traveling puts you in touch with the right people. And I always am just trusting that the right people are going to show up for me at the right time. Okay, so I'm going to get into the lows now. I could talk about the highs forever, because the highs make up about 90%, probably 90% of my experience out here has been riding the wave of life and thoroughly enjoying it, 10 out of 10. And then I'd say, like, there's maybe a 3% of it, or 5, I don't know, 5% of it is really down in the dumps, in the shitter, not really horrible experiences. But they're not horrible, they're actually amazing, because those are the ones that a lot of growth and personal development comes from, is those times. So they're definitely not horrible, they just feel like it in the moment. That's a very small percentage of the time, and that's kind of inevitable. And I'll tell you, when those show up for me often, they don't show up often, but when they do, yeah. And then the other, I guess, 5% is just neutral. There's obviously going to be times where I'm not in the complete 0 out of 10, but I'm not always going to be 10 out of 10, right? I'm always going to be, sometimes I'll be neutral. So I would say that when I'm in my lowest of lows, when I've been in the lowest of lows in my travels, is when I arrive to a new country. That is, so far, I think that's happened every country. I think that's happened every country, maybe not Thailand so much, because I had, like I said, I had my boyfriend at the time with me, and I felt very safe and didn't really have to worry about so much because I had somebody with me and we were kind of figuring it out together. And so, and I felt like I was taken care of, So then, of course, I arrived to Cambodia, which is the first country I visited by myself after that. And that was the lowest point of my entire, probably, I think that's one of the lowest points in my entire life, was just arriving in Cambodia, and that first 24 hours was horrific. And it was my first experience of being solo, and I completely was regretting all of my decisions. I said, like, I can't do this, I'm going home. I was crying for an entire, like, all day, all night on the phone with my mom, and just so many things went wrong. Well, not even that many things. They're normal things, like getting ripped off because you don't know the currency, and not everybody is very nice when you arrive at these places. Like, not everybody is going to be nice to you. um so I was getting ripped off, and just all these things kind of went wrong with me trying to get from the airport to the island I was going to. And I was also sleep deprived. I had pulled an all-nighter before and went on a flight after, and I was emotionally wrecked because I just left my boyfriend at the time, who we were still together, and we were leaving each other for what we thought would be a year of long distance relationship. So completely emotionally wrecked. So just in like a super duper vulnerable state, I go to be traveling on my own for the first time. And then add on top of that all of the having to travel like 8 hours down the country, and all of these things going wrong, and having no idea what I'm doing, and never knowing if I'm safe in this new country. So that was the lowest point for me, was just that whole day, especially even the evening, when I'm just like, I just wanted to give up right away. And that was the most intense. But like every time I arrive to a new country, some of those experiences are similar. I'm often sleep deprived, and often a little bit emotional, or a lot emotional, because I'm leaving people. I come from leaving whoever I'm with, loved ones. So I'm also, I'm always tired, always emotional in those moments. And then the inevitable is, when you arrive to the new country and you're alone, you kind of have to get yourself to wherever you're going. It's easier if you're just staying in the city for the night that you fly into, rather than like going all the way down the country that same day. But still, you need to arrive, get through the airport, find a way to your hotel, and not get scammed by people. And so in the Philippines, it's been no problem that way, I think, because they have Grab, which is like Uber. And so, you don't have to worry about hopping in like a tuk-tuk, or which is just like a random driver who is going to ask you for a lot of money. And my experience is other countries are very the other countries I've visited, like Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, they want to take a lot of money from the foreigners, in my experience, and they want to rip me off. But in the Philippines, that's never really been my experience. Very few times. They're way more genuine out here. They actually want to have us here, and they actually just love having foreigners around. They don't want anything from us but our company. So I just love Filipinos for that. But that's always, so it's just always kind of, I think that just all of those things together, and those parts are usually inevitable. I think that just kind of, and I think also, unfortunately, because I expect it, I don't want to expect it, because I know how powerful that is. You get what you expect, not what you deserve. So why would I expect bad things to happen to me when I arrive somewhere into a new country? And I'm not expecting, it's like I am expecting it, because every single time something has gone wrong. And it's usually something out of my, like, completely something that you wouldn't expect to happen. It's not just an accumulation of those things. It's like, I think those things are what bring the energy of chaos. And then something bad happens, like something really, like, kind of bad. So I'd say, I mean, yeah, that was the Cambodia example. That was the worst one. Just emotional, like, just for me, it wasn't even the worst thing that's happened to me, but it was the worst state that I've been in. The next country I went to from there, to Vietnam, I actually found out at the border that I'm not allowed in because I messed up my visa. Uh, I didn't have my